Now joining us now, he's also running for re-election. He's a Democrat, John Bell. He represents part of Loudoun and Prince William County. He is now the delegate in the former seat of one of my favorite people, David Ramadan. Although David is a hopeless, never Trumper, I'm still trying to save his soul. That's, some people just have a burden of life. It's my burden of life, my albatross I carry around, trying to save David Ramadan's never Trumper soul. And I guess when taxes go down, the economy booms, and people get back to work and we get out of these wars, then David will finally see the light. Meantime, John Bell, he's running for re-election. He's the incumbent. He's running against, let me see if I can say his name right, Subacola, who's the Republican candidate. Now, Subacola was also a delegate to Cleveland, to the National Convention, and Suba, part of the Never Trumper crowd. Now, just because Subacuba voted against me for delegation chairman against Ken Cuccinelli, and I only lost by 2 votes. Just because Suba voted against me, I don't hold that against him. And just because Suba voted against all of the changes we were trying to make in the Virginia delegation and voted with the Cuccinelli Cruz crowd, we're not going to hold that against him either. He's still a good guy. But he should have voted for me for delegation chairman. That's all I can say. I would have voted for me if I was him instead of Ken Cuccinelli, by the way. Anyway, joining us now, John Bell. John, it is good to have you with us here on the John Fredericks Radio Network.
It's great to be here, and I'm feeling the burst of oxygen. So it's an honor to be with you. I really enjoyed the last time I was on your show, and thank you much for your invite. And great to be here, and thanks for putting out the word about all of our elections this year. Because frankly, the most important thing is getting everybody out to vote and get more people involved in our process. Because it's I always think it's a shame when we have so few people voting in our elections. And I know as a retired military member, I often had to go to great lengths overseas, even in combat zones, to make sure I got my vote in. And I always think it's kind of a shame people who have a fairly easy access to voting don't do it. So it's so important, and these state races affect our everyday life in so many ways. So I hope people will listen to the message here, and something will spur them to go out and vote.
All right, John Bell, you represent the 87th District as part of Loudoun and part of Prince William County. What are the issues in your district driving your race?
Well, I would say fast growth area. It's right around the Dulles Airport, includes most of Sterling, and then just for people to get their bearings on the west side of 28, Loudoun Valley Estates, a good portion of the neighborhood of Brambleton. I live in South Riding, very large development just off the Route 50, and it's the western side of South Riding all the way out through Aldie to Prince William County. I have 3 Prince William precincts. So transportation is always going to be one of our issues because a lot of people here have tough commutes. Most people who live in my district don't work in the district, and I think fundamentally we need to do a multitude of things there. One is improve transportation and also get more jobs in this district, because then that will obviously reduce the amount of time people have to commute. And I know we have several very strong bids that I was a part of for the Amazon headquarters. Many people, I think I read 230-something bids are being placed for that, but we offer an ideal location, very high-quality workforce, close to the biggest airport in the area, and that would allow a huge job center to diversify the tax base and also to give a big job center closer to home. So transportation, healthcare is a big deal. I hear about that a lot. I've actually met with many people, heartbreaking stories, who have adult children with severe disabilities who have $20,000 a year bills for their medication. And because of the amount of money they make in this area, they get no assistance. And they're struggling just to make ends meet. If we would have accepted the Affordable Care Act, they would have coverage and they wouldn't be in this dilemma. I think it's pretty simple. If you're sick, you should be able to see a doctor and not worry about whether, if your child's sick, your mother or father's sick, whether you're going to pay your mortgage or feed your family. And the Affordable Care Act, not perfect, not by any means. The thing that bothers me the most with it is administrative costs, I think, are just way too high. Compared to other countries, our administrative costs are 20, 25 times what they pay. And Japan, their administrative cost of health care is at 1%, and they complain about it every single year. So this is something I would love to see both parties get together and really work on. And I think anybody's ever had to go through any kind of medical procedure, you get multiple approvals and multiple levels of tests sometimes you go to really get what you need. I think we need a small business pool as well for healthcare because small businesses, we put them in a pool, it was under a certain amount of revenue, a certain amount of employees.
That's such a logical, John.
Easier for them.
That is such a logical idea, right? To get a small business pool. I mean, I own a small business. I've gotten out of your system. I'm with Liberty Health Share. By the way, good segue, more information, do what I did. Go to libertyhealthshare.org, libertyhealthshare.org. But, John, look, that's a great idea. Why not be able to put a consortium together of small business owners so they're not having to go out and buy a single policy so they can pool their resources? Rand Paul's been talking about that forever. That makes sense. Everybody that would look at that says that makes sense. Why can't we get that done? Why is it so tough to get that done?
Well, I think good question. And frankly, it's one I've been struggling with, but we can be different parties, and we can have spirited debates about issues, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't work together on things like this. I mean, a good idea is a good idea, and something that makes sense makes sense. And I hope our country, both at the federal level and even more so in Richmond, can decide that, hey, let's put our country first. Let's put the Commonwealth first. And if it's a good idea, who cares where it comes from? Let's do it. Because if it's going to help small businesses and not make healthcare a burden, I think, frankly, we can agree on the fact that everybody wants people, when they're sick, to be able to go to a doctor. Let's find a way to make it more affordable and make sense. And I hope we can find that place. I tried to debate about myself, how we got to where we're at. But, every relationship of my life, I've had to do some compromising. If I didn't compromise my marriage, I wouldn't be married. So I think we need to learn that that's not necessarily a bad thing. I will tell you, I hear a lot about firearm safety from people. The latest incident in Las Vegas, people are worried about that. And this is something that I've said on the subcommittee of militia, police, and public safety for 2 years. I've been on the gun subcommittee. I'm the only Democrat on that committee. I am a gun owner. I believe in the Second Amendment. I have carried a weapon on my hip in combat zones. So I am not against guns, but I believe that we do need a few common sense measures, and I do think that we need to work together. And frankly, I would love to get the gun groups to work with us because I think we all need to come together, because I think the biggest threat to the Second Amendment, frankly, is continued mass gun violence, because that we're struggling with what to do about these incidents, which occur just too often. But I hear this from the district. Many people who are not gun owners, never been around guns, they're afraid of, going to a movie theater. If anybody makes a sudden movement, that somehow it's a violent issue. So I would love to see us do some things about that. For me, training is always a big thing. In my military career, anytime we handle firearms, training was a big deal. I'd love to see our concealed carry be required in-person training. I did a bill on that 2 years ago. Currently, you're allowed to do concealed carry with video training or online training. And my intention is not to make it expensive or hard to get a concealed carry. I just want to make sure that it's in-person training, because I know from my experience, if the holster's not properly fitted or your safing procedures are not correct, then you can have an accidental discharge, and an instructor can do that. And frankly, I'd love to see the NRA, VCDL, other groups give that training, because frankly, I think they could even get more members. I'd like for it to be frequent, very low cost.
Look, that's another good idea, John.
But for training purposes.
Look, that is a good idea. You can never get enough gun training. And I like your approach, which is get the NRA involved, get gun owners involved, do the right thing. You want a safer society, but it has nothing to do with curtailing the Second Amendment, and I like the training aspect of that. John, I'm just about out of time, but this is a district where, David Ramadan set the standard of constituent service and talking to voters. I don't think there was a voter in the 87th district that David didn't meet. He beat you at once, and you know how tough of a candidate he was. How have you been able to copy that David Ramadan meet every voter type thing? How have you been able to do that?
You know, I frankly, I don't know that anybody can copy what David does. And I say that, frankly, as a compliment to him. David and I disagree about a lot of things, but I give David a lot of credit. He is a hard worker. He went to everything. And you know, he had his style. I'm never going to have a large truck with a shrink wrap picture of myself on it, as David did. That's not my style. But things that I've done, you know, I actually have, this year I did 4 town halls after the session in Richmond, and in person, different places in the district. I did one pre-session forum, and also I did something unique this year, which I want to do again. I did a live Facebook town hall from Richmond, right from my office. We took any question. It was either on Facebook, Twitter, or they could phone them in, and we had 500 people involved in that, and over 2,000 people watched the tape afterwards.
That's good.
So I try to do those things. And I really go to every event I can. We have lots of great things in the district. I've been blessed to do commending resolutions. I think we did 20-something this year to recognize the many outstanding groups. And what I found is being a delegate is not just what you do in Richmond, it's what you do back home. And every day, just about, I'll get a group will ask me to come to something. I try to go to almost everyone I can. And a lot of constituent services, sometimes not necessarily in the purview of the House of Delegates, but it's helping someone connect the dots with where to go to get the services they need. Recently I was able to help a lady who contacted me and said that she isn't getting child support and she's struggling, and we were able to connect the dots and help her solve that problem. Sometimes it's as simple as a pothole in the road in front of someone's house.
Well, I think that's
those are things I'm happy to do, and I do all the time.
That's constituent service. John Bell, I'm out of time. I want to thank you for your time today. John Bell, Democrat, running for re-election, House of Delegates, representing the 87th District. That's the South Riding area, part of Loudoun and Prince William. More information, johnbellfordelegate.com. John, always a pleasure to have you on. We are predicting you are going to retain that seat, and good luck with your race.